This is the Beesotted Pride of West London podcast, and we're coming to you on the eve of Eurovision. Oh, you weren't expected to hear that one, actually, were you? Eurovision and Beesotted podcast and football and all that nonsense mentioned all in the intro to the next podcast when we're playing a team called West Ham. And the reason why is that me and Laney have been completely and utterly brainwashed. We spent a weekend in Liverpool, and all we got all weekend was Eurovision. Eurovision this, Eurovision that. Everyone's gone absolutely potty up in Liverpool about Eurovision. So we're not going to ram it down your throats, but it'd be unkind not to mention it at least once or twice. My name's Billy Grant, and like I said to you, we're coming into the tail end of the season. We got a game not on Saturday, but on Sunday. So you could work out how many times I'm going to say that we're playing on Saturday during the podcast, because I'm so used to tuning in on that. But we're playing West Ham on a Saturday, and we've got lots of bits to talk about on this pod. Actually, we're going to look back to the Liverpool weekend and the Liverpool match. We've also got JB with some marvellous facts and fun. So we've got Andy Payne, the West Ham fan. He's going to give us a lowdown on West Ham. But at the moment now, I'm sitting with my little chum, my little roommate, who I spent the weekend with, Laney, in the house. Laney, how are you?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, I'm probably not quite as Eurovision crazy as you, but I agree. We were really brainwashed. Everywhere you looked, there was flags and events, and it was a good weekend to be up there. To be honest, it was like really lively.
Everywhere you go, people want to know. Apparently,
yes, apparently. And, we saw the best of the city as well. It was a really sunny Sunday, and we had a really good day up there. And and we saw the mighty bees at Anfield, which was we'll talk about that obviously.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the football. We'll also talk about our weekend in Liverpool in a little bit. But I'm just saying, it's a bit of a rare one, this one, Saturday, on Saturday, Lady, because, you know, as I said, I've got to tune my brain into saying actually we're playing on Sunday, because we're not actually playing a game on Saturday, which means that we've got a free weekend. And all of a sudden, I know with a lot of Bees fans, you know, when you get a free weekend, all of a sudden they start sort of kind of getting real nervous. They start getting the shakes because they're thinking, oh my God, what do we have to do? Like, you know, there's a lot of B&Q action going on a Saturday, because as characters get ordered down to B&Q to do the DIY that they were meant to have done about 7 months ago, like, you know. So I think there's a lot of that going on. I mean, I'm not sure, I'll see what you're up to. I mean, for me on Saturday, what am I up to? I'm actually going down to Middlesex FA, Rectory Park, because one of our teams, Darren, as you know, the Bees fan Darren, his team, his under-13s, are actually in the Capital League Cup final on Saturday. So they've got to do the Capital League Cup final against Haringey, who are a very good side, it has to be said. So celebration to them, and they're going to be very, very happy that they're down there playing the Cup final. So I'm going to probably have a little mosey on down there about 10 o'clock in the morning to have a look to see how the girls are getting on in that Cup final. Then after that, the world is my oyster. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to be down at B&Q or if I'm going to have a bit of a late lunch or just shoot into town. I'm not quite sure as yet. How about yourself, lady? Have you got any plans for Saturday?
No B&Q action for me, thankfully. Although I went to IKEA after dropping you off on
controversial.
After dropping you off on the way back from Liverpool, went past to get a few bits and bobs. So no need for B&Q for me. It's a free Saturday. It's really quite good. Normally I'd go to probably Hampton and Richmond or Chertsey Town, but
can't do that.
No, season's finished, so there's no non-league action. So probably I'm gonna go for a massive walk, and then I'm gonna watch the playoffs.
The playoffs.
Playoffs, and also there are some big Premier League games involving relegation threatened Yorkshire teams that I'll probably look at before I go for walkies.
Oh, relegation threatened Yorkshire teams. And it's interesting when you're talking about that, those matches, because last weekend, and we're trying not to talk about Liverpool in this section, but we're finding it very hard not to. We had a bit of a remedy. I mean, okay, listen, let's just start off. I mean, the weekend started with a nightmare where I was meant to meet Laney at our little meeting point at the M25 M1 junction, and got into my car at 10 to 7, and I couldn't get the lock off my car, like the lock that you do that people don't steal the car. And the lock was so good, it didn't actually allow me to steal my own car, and I couldn't get the lock off, and I tried for 2 hours to get the lock off, and I had a complete nightmare. And Laney had to come and rescue me because they were setting up the street for the street party outside, and you couldn't even get down the street because the street was all locked off. But Lady came down, rescued me, and we ended up having to go up to Liverpool in the Laney Mobile, which was you found that quite hilarious, didn't you, Lady?
Yeah, you get locked out of your own car. I've not seen anything like that since the 80s, I don't think. But then you could easily break in, or all you needed was a coat hanger or a bit of kind of like cord, and you could get. Oh, how many times did I break into my Beetle back in the 80s? I forget, but yeah, these new electric cars, they're not having any of it, are they?
No, it was a complete nightmare. I was absolutely, I didn't know what to do. I thought, I'm going to miss the first beers in Liverpool, but luckily we still got up there for the first beers in Liverpool. But just coming back to and we'll talk about Liverpool in a bit, but we did have a little reminiscent, because when we were talking about these games at the weekend, as you're going to be watching, we were actually sitting in Liverpool, and all of a sudden, the memory started flooding back, because they had all the Division 1 games. And for me, I mean, I keep on talking about the jeopardy. We're missing a bit of the jeopardy that you have in the First Division, the Championship seasons, where teams are going to go up, and you had that amazing scenario with the Division 1 teams. We were sitting there in the sun by Albert Dock while the Division 1 teams are playing, and you're sort of seeing who's going to be in and out of the playoffs, actually, and it was quite amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really was. Saw some Northampton fans around the dock, and they were playing Tranmere.
The following day, that was, wasn't it?
The following day, yeah. But the big action was all the following day, really, wasn't it? That was when the Championship sort of brouhaha's and the Millwalls taking the lead and throwing it away against Blackburn and all those permutations. It was quite an incredible kind of, it was great to watch. I mean, Sky always hype up the transfer deadline day and the final day, but you can't deny it was proper jeopardy and proper drama that was going on up and down the country, and I was just really happy not to be part of it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I don't know what you mean about missing kind of like crunch all important games, but we've had enough, and for the time being at least, I'm just going to kind of wallow in the kind of nice kind of safety zone of pushing for a European place, which still is a possibility.
And you, obviously I'm obviously a victor. I just love the punishment. You know what I'm saying? And for me, I'm sort of sitting there and I'm thinking, you got the Millwall, Millwall fans who are excited because they've been in and around the playoffs pretty much all season. Their final game of the season against Blackburn Rovers, who were very, very unlikely to make the playoffs unless they got a marvellous result and everybody else's results didn't go to plan. You had my mate up in Liverpool who left from Liverpool to go up to Middlesbrough because he's a Coventry fan, and he had to go up there and they had to secure a point against Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough was safe, you know what I'm saying? You had quite a few sort of kind of different scenarios that were happening as well. You had Sunderland, who looked like they weren't going to get into the playoffs at some stage because they would have been pipped to the punch by Millwall, and so they were sitting down there very, very sad. And it was just a mad day, because one minute you had Millwall, who were they were 2-0 up at one stage, I think it was, and I think they were 2-0 up, and then they went 2-1 up. And then
they went 3-1 up at half time.
They were 3-1 up at half time. Actually, yeah, it went and then afterwards they conspired to come back and lose that game 4-3, and they were in the playoffs. They were absolutely firmly within the playoffs at 3-1 up at half time. The game was theirs, and to sort of miraculously let in 3 goals in that second half and lose 4-3 to Blackburn, who didn't quite do enough to get to the playoffs anyway. So they, we use that argument. They might as well have lost the game. You know what I'm saying? I was just thinking, at 3-1 up, I was thinking, I remember being in those Millwall fans' shoes, how brilliant it's going to be. You're 3-1 up at half time. You know you're in the playoffs. This is such a marvellous moment for you. I've got loads of Millwall mates. I know how excited they were getting. And then I was getting the WhatsApps in the second half from them and how dejected that they were feeling. And I was thinking, actually, maybe I don't really want to feel like they do. And you had the Coventry fans who went up in their droves up to Middlesbrough. And apparently the Coventry fans, their support has been pretty spot on this season as well. And going up there and getting the result that they got. I think they went 1-0. They went 1-0 up actually, and then Borough came back. But to get the result, but it's kind of just missing that kind of that jeopardy, and Sunderland sneaking in at the last minute because Millwall didn't do, and all of a sudden you've got a scenario where you've got possible Sunderland versus Middlesbrough final on the cards, which means that you possibly could get a North East team to come into the Premier League this season, which I never thought is going to happen. It was amazing.
Yeah, it's brutal, wasn't it? And I can't believe that was 2 years ago that we were part of that. It was the two games against Bournemouth, and then obviously the Swansea final. It seems a different world away, to be honest with you. As I said, I'm glad not to be part of that, but it's going to be an interesting watch. Wembley for the final is going to be packed, and it's a good chance. There's a good chance of Sunderland or Middlesbrough coming back up. They're probably going to be the favourites. I would have thought, looking at the form going into the sort of final weekends, and hopefully Marcus Forss can play a part in that for Borough. But it was. It was a weekend where lots of memories do come back, and when the season itself is almost over. I mean, I remember driving up and down the M40 on your coaches, going up to Huddersfield, and you go through the countryside, and the fields are all yellow with the rapeseed oil, flowers out, and the weather's great, and you can stand outside the pub and have a beer, and summer's coming, it's the end of season's coming, and where the big drama happens. So lots of memories, and lots of experience, Bill. You forget what we've been through over the years.
That's right, and like I said, the semi-finals are coming up this weekend, and this is one to kind of get our head around. We have to remember that Brentford in 1999, when Andy Scott was our manager. And we were relegated to the bottom tier, the 4th division. So that was like only just over 10 years ago. We were at the bottom tier, and it's the 1999 season. We were a couple of seasons before that, we were almost, I'd say, relegated to the conference, because we were so bad, under Terry Butcher and that crew. We were so bad. But Andy Scott, to be fair, came and turned it around. We got promoted that season. But the final game of the season where basically we sang Andy Scott, Andy Scott continuously for about 2 hours, if you remember that as well, which I don't remember those days. But do you remember the team that, as we got promoted and we were singing, the team that we played that season who actually got relegated to the conference, so to the National League? Can you remember who it is?
No.
That day? Okay, so that day, on that final day of the season, we actually saw Luton Town go down, and they were relegated to, as it's called, the conference, or the National League. And that was in 1999, as we started to make our way back up the table and move ourselves into the era we are now. Now, here we are, sort of 13 years later. Luton got themselves out of their National League, out of the conference, eventually to Division 2. And then they made themselves up to Division 1, and then they made themselves up to the Championship, and now they are in prime spot. They finished 3rd in the Championship last season, and they're playing Sunderland, so they have actually got a big chance as well to get themselves the Premier League. So the irony is that we could see ourselves playing Luton Town next season, also in that Luton Town Stadium, which, if any of you new listeners who haven't checked it out, just go and Google Luton Town Stadium houses. Just Google it and you'll see it's different level. I mean, Griffin Park was wicked and we loved it, but Luton Town is on a next level when it comes to stadiums. And if they do actually get promoted, they're gonna have a bit of job making that stadium Premier League ready. But can you get your head around that fact that we might be playing Luton next season, Laney?
Well, it's a remarkable rise, isn't it? I've got not a lot of love for Luton as a town, or Kenilworth Road as a stadium. You can't deny it's authentic, and it's but I can't see them playing. They're saying that they'll adapt it, and they'll spend the summer getting it ready. But I think that's a ground share and Milton Keynes. That's the obvious one for them to do before they get to their new stadium. It's not. You can't have 8,000 capacities in the Prem. It's just, you can't. I'm not sure they'll allow it. Or the other one, they ground share at Watford. Do you reckon? No.
Oh, I'm not sure about that, mate. I tell you, I'm not sure about that. I must admit, if they go up from them ground sharing at Franchise FC, aka MK Dons, I wouldn't be having that, because the soulless bowl, as they call it, you know what I'm saying? Just watching football there was bad enough when the franchise was playing, and watching Luton playing there, and you wouldn't be shy getting tickets. You'd be able to get about, we'll have an allocation of about sort of 17,000, I think, there, wouldn't we? Because it's such a big stadium for them to try and fill.
Yeah, it's a soulless bowl, but I mean, they'd fill it. I mean, they'd fill it for the Prem games, I'm sure. It's a sensible thing. So we'll see what happens. They got to win at Wembley first, so they've actually got to get through the semis first. One thing at a time.
One thing at a time, and obviously they've got red and white stripes coming up to Luton as well, which is going to be interesting. It's going to be, I bet you tickets for that match from Sunderland fans are going to be going for a pretty penny, as they are, because that Luton away end is pretty small, and as you know, Sunderland have got a ridiculous, support. I mean, they 30,000 plus at home in Division 1, as they were getting, so they're going to be actually bringing quite a lot down. So I think Luton might be quite invaded by the Northeast. I think it's this weekend while we're going to be sitting down there watching the game, isn't it, Laney?
Yes. Let's go back to the Northwest, though, Bill. I think it was Liverpool, really. It's they're all fighting for a chance to go to Anfield next season, which we did for the last two. So the prize is huge, and it's an incredible party to be in the Premier League. I know it's got its faults. But it's we're flourishing there. So come and join us.
Come and join us over there. So listen, you come and join us over here. We're going to go away. We're going to have a little snifty, little drink, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk Liverpool. So Saturday, big weekend, long weekend in Liverpool, Eurovision weekend. I'll keep mentioning, I'm going to mention Eurovision just because it literally was Eurovision weekend in Liverpool. You literally got nothing else, blanket covered Eurovision when we were out, because we spent, I reckon, other than awake, I think we probably spent about 20 minutes in our hotel room, and the rest of the time we actually spent out and about in Liverpool, in different parts of Liverpool. And like I said to you, we had quite a lot of fun, right? You know what I'm saying? So, but I'll tell you what I'm going to do. We could talk about the fun in a little bit, but we had a game against Liverpool, and the honest truth is that we played all right. We tried to kind of hold them down, try and just kind of keep it tight and see if we can nick something. And they got a goal relatively early on in the game, and that was it. As far as it was concerned, it was game, set and match. The game wasn't particularly exciting. It wasn't particularly interesting, but it was okay. I think we did ourselves proud. But what we did is, because we had such a long weekend with so much activity going on, we're actually going to have to cast our mind back to Saturday and to hear what the fans had to say. Let's go back to the terraces and back to the pubs. Listen to hear what the Liverpool and the Brentford fans had to say directly after that game.
I think we gave as good as we got. They had a lucky break, we didn't. I think we played well as a team. I think could be a bit more clinical in finishing. Last week it paid off. We bought on all the subs, and it paid off. All the attacking. This week it didn't.
Fair play to Bees. We didn't get overwhelmed. We've lost 1-0. I'm not looking for saying that's all right, because it isn't all right. But we can walk away from here with our heads held high, because we've really pushed a really excellent team every inch of the way. We beat them at our place, and we didn't deserve to lose today, I don't think.
I think we played brilliant today. I think the confidence that we had today was much higher than, especially last season, but even this season, some of the games we've played, but you don't always win those games no matter how good you play, and you get points in games that you don't play so good. I think we made Liverpool look very average, especially in that second half. You can see where our players' minds were at as well. We had 4 strikers on towards the end of that game. That showed Frank really wants that victory there, or at least that equaliser. And I think the boys did us really proud coming here today.
The second half was superb. We were on them, we were quick. We moved the ball a bit better. It's just that first half, the first 15 minutes, Liverpool managed to get a grip on us and we just couldn't hold it for a bit. Hey, you win some, you lose some, but we move on to West Ham next week.
We're just a victim of our own downfall. Our passes were going astray, our free kicks were awful. We lacked, again, we're lacking like a lot of energy. We're lacking energy. Just too many stray balls and people not breaking quick enough. We're getting on the wing, but then there's no one in to cross the ball to, and then when we do cross, the crosses are going astray. So it's a little bit of our own downfall, but no, to come to Anfield and lose 1-0, it's not all bad.
I was disappointed. I thought Brentford should have got at least a draw, but in context, we're leaving Anfield having lost, and I'm disappointed. So that shows how far Brentford have come. But yeah, I'm disappointed. I thought Brentford played very well. Liverpool had a spell in the first half of around 10 minutes, and I think apart from that, Brentford are a better team.
Yeah, I mean, you were unlucky, I think, not to maybe nick one, maybe get a draw. I mean, I don't think it was ever maybe a likely win, but You played well up front. It made it difficult for us and everything. Good support as well. Good side. I like Brentford.
Today, I'm going to be honest with you. Like now, I thought we were going to get beat today because how good you are with set pieces. You're a well fucking oiled team. I thought you were going to come there and beat us, but I thought we played very well today. I don't think you had many chances. I can't recall a chance that you had. We were very good, but I thought we played the game very well. Because you are a fucking brilliant team. And I get that to you like now, you are a very good team.
Say if you don't know the score of that game, you watched all the highlights, you wouldn't say we deserved to win. We didn't deserve to lose or draw, but we didn't deserve to win.
On the whole, I thought the game was poor today though, like from both teams. There wasn't much passing from both teams. I guess the ref as well didn't help the game. The ref was really poor today. Yeah, but overall, I guess you can't argue with a win, regardless of the scoreline. So I'm happy with the win.
I'm going to take the 3-2 aggregate victory. I'm going to take the fact that Liverpool did okay, but they weren't home and dry at any time during the game. No way. So we gave them a good game. We played well. Janelt, fair play to him as well. Big shoes to fill in Norgard's boots in the centre midfield. He did really, really well. So no, I tip my hat to Brentford. They did well today, but unfortunately it wasn't quite enough.
There you go, Liverpool fans and Brentford fans. And if you notice again, podcast goes straight up after the game. An hour after the game, boom, that was up in the air. Pride of West London as it was. And like I said to you, bank holiday weekend, and the Liverpool fans, they were obviously fairly happy because they felt they were back on track and they feel that they could still possibly nick a Champions League place. As for Leeds fans, sorry. Oh no, don't kill me for that. As for Brentford fans, I think for us, it was a case of we were proud that we went up there and went to Anfield and we kind of, managed to have them still kind of on their toes for the whole of the match, which is something I said that wouldn't have happened years ago. And like I said to you, a case of progression. I know some people weren't happy, thinking that we were a little bit negative, and if we had a little bit more positive tactics, we actually might have got something out of the game. But I think there's two arguments to that, and I think quite a few of us are saying, actually, to be honest with you, we tried to eke something out of it. We didn't create a lot. Liverpool created a lot more, and at the end of the day, we didn't quite get the result. But it wasn't like going home crying thinking we got smashed by Liverpool, was it, lady?
No, not at all. And I thought it was a shrewd, savvy mindset and game plan. To be honest with you, it didn't vary, hugely differently from the game up at Old Trafford where we lost narrowly 1-0. Didn't really vary much from Molineux, to be honest with you, where we lost 2-0, and it didn't really vary much from Stamford Bridge where we won 2-0. It was about trying to keep it tight and hit them on the break and taking chances when undoubtedly they do come our way. Now, didn't really get much that came our way up at Liverpool. We had the goal that was disallowed, and it was offside, and we celebrated as if we scored, and VAR ruled that out. But a draw would have been an incredible achievement up there. And then it depends if you're glass half full, glass half empty, to be honest with you. But it's undeniable that our tactics and Thomas Frank, the way he set the team up this year, week in, week out, almost, apart from maybe 3 or 4 games, which we don't need to dwell on at the moment. But apart from 4 games this season, we've approached and executed the tactics pretty well. And the season's an incredible one. We've got some excellent scalps, especially at home. We've beaten Man United and we've beaten Liverpool at home. The tactics were spot on up at the Etihad when we beat Man City. So sometimes it goes your way and sometimes it doesn't. And it was a real fine margins one this week, just gone. So it's Mo Salah. He found the clinical finish, and another time it gets saved or gets cleared, and it's a 0-0 draw. I came away without any complaints. And the problem is, you go onto social media and you kind of get a bit tainted by a lot of angry people when we lose. And I've got some information for you. We are going to lose in the Premier League. It's par for the course. Like every club, even the great ones in this league, they lose. you know, and you have to take it on the chin, and you have to kind of just be a bit more reflective in where we've played and what could have happened. You know, Liverpool are capable of smashing you for 7, as Man United found out. You need to stop them playing. You need to stop the supply, and by and large we did that. You know, it's you know, I think it was quite a mature performance by Brentford, and I certainly didn't come away feeling like anyone had let the side down. So, you know, I thought that was the vibe, to be honest, on the terraces as well. I didn't really feel there was any negativity until I got onto social media. But I'm not going to blow that out of all proportion. You know, it's only a few people that kind of don't see the bigger picture sometimes, and everyone's entitled to their opinions anyway.
Everyone is. So, I mean, let's just coming back to this match and exactly what happened in the match, according to who scored. Like for Liverpool, their strengths were creating goal-scoring opportunities from set pieces. Okay, that was it. Okay, and their weaknesses, they were aggressive, gave the ball away, a lot of free kicks around the box. Okay, for us, they said there were actually no significant strengths that we had within that game, and we were poor at finishing. They had they had a large amount of possession in our half as well. They liked long shots, crossing the ball, and also they liked through balls. For us, we played with width. We liked our long shots attacking down the left. We liked crossing the ball, and we also favoured our long balls. I mean, that's looking at that match. I mean, from the XG as well, like I said to you, we like the stat side of things because that's got us where we are. Liverpool got 1.91, so practically 2, and ours was 0.20, which was basically we created very, very little at all. We created very much, not much. I mean, if you took in terms of chances, I think the biggest chance that we created was I think it was a 6% chance, which I think was a Rico Henry chance, which basically means that 6 out of 100 recorded shots similar have actually gone into the back of the net. Okay, so you know it's not even a 1 in 10 or a 1 in 5. This is like a 1 in 6%. Okay, whereas Liverpool, they created about 3 or 4 big opportunities within the 18-yard box, including obviously the Mo Salah goal, which was a massive chance there for them as well. But they created about 3 or 4 big chances, and then they had other smaller opportunities as well. So it's one of those ones where we tried to keep them out. It could have probably been worse for us, you know. According to that, it could have been 2-0 at least, if not a 3-0. We didn't create very much, and if we were going to score a goal out of all the chances that we had, it would have been one of the wonder goals, which we all love. But it wasn't. It wasn't. You know, from an attacking perspective, it wasn't great. Even though we came away feeling very proud of what how we played. Interestingly as well, I'm going to ask you this question, Laney, because it was something that was posted by Darren the Bees fan, who we'll have to call him sort of, what should we call him, sort of kind of Cartel B. Actually, I have to call him Cartel B because he's living out in Colombia at the moment now, as you do.
Bogota B is better.
Bogota B. He's called him Bogota B, but you know, Cartel B sounds even better. You know what I'm saying? And but Bogota B had actually flown back from Colombia for a couple of weeks. It was his birthday weekend up in Liverpool as well, so he'd flown back for a Bogota birthday up in Liverpool, and he'd come back, and we were sitting down there in the sun outside the Albert Dock on the Sunday, and we were just chatting about the game, and we were chatting how we were chatting looking towards the final game of the season. Again, we're talking about all these other teams playing and how nervous their fans would be, and the fact that their fans were getting up really early in the morning to travel on the Sunday and the bank holiday Monday to go up and see their teams play, and how exciting that would have been. But you know, he just posted the question. He said to me, tell you something, do you think, you know, how are you feeling about this season? And I'm like, yeah, it's okay about the football. And he said, do you think it's because of the style of football that we're playing? Maybe the excitement for us is not necessarily the same, or there's a different level of excitement. And I said, you know, what do you mean about that? And he said, well, you know, if you think about it, you know, we were playing a different style of football in the Championship. We were, you know, creating more chances. You know, we had, you know, same players or similar players, but, you know, we were dominating games. We had more possession of the ball. You know, we're passing the ball around much more, and we were playing a different type of football. And we've had to adapt our style in the Premier League to kind of survive and to make sure that we're effective with the players that we've got. And has that kind of made your enjoyment of the actual game itself less? And it's really interesting because I'd actually never thought of it. I never thought of it because all you think, Brentford are playing in the Premier League, and you think we're surviving, we're upsetting these people, but you didn't think of the style of football that we're playing. And, you know, will at one stage we'll go back to playing that style of football when we get more money and we can afford the players at this level that could do it? And is that actually affecting certain things and your enjoyment of the Premier League? And I thought it was a very good question. What's your thoughts, Laney?
I can see his point, but then you have to then realise, how we've improved this season, and it's by being a bit more tactically aware and mature. I think we're caught in that sort of like twilight zone in the middle, where we're obviously clearly too good to be involved in the relegation scrap this season, and we're not quite good enough to be challenging, or we're not consistent enough to be challenging for the top sort of 4, 5, 6. We could, I can reel out probably 7 results in my head where, if we'd have held out, or we got what we deserved, or we scored a chance that wasn't ruled out by VAR, we would have got probably enough points to be up past Tottenham. But that's the way it goes. But I just think Thomas Frank and the coaches and the DOFs have been a bit more pragmatic this year, and especially away from home. At home, I think we've dictated play more. I think we've been on the front foot a lot more. But away, it's about, we're a counter-attacking team away from home, and we allow teams to come onto us, and we hit them with devastating pace, and with Ivan Toney with his finishing. And there is no better example of that than the win at Man City. That's when it all goes your way. I can see why. I can see Darren's point. I can see that we're not that toe-to-toe team that we have been in the past, but I can perfectly see why. There's only a few teams that have got the quality and depth to be able to dictate play regardless and not be a counter-attacking team. Arsenal, we can name them. Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, Man United, really, they're the only ones that have got quality throughout, and they can just take the game to the opposition regardless. And I heard some criticism recently of Tottenham, where they went to Anfield, and they started off, they went 2 goals behind, and they were accused of being too good to be a counter-attacking team. They should dictate the play more, but that's the way it is, and that's where we are. Let's see who we sign this summer. See if we can be a bit more on the front foot. But, as I said, I can see why we've been a bit more pragmatic this season.
I mean, and again, going back to you talking about the Chelsea game, 73% possession for Chelsea as opposed to 27% possession for Brentford. Listen, and we know, because we're stats people, but we don't just take these stats and look at them and think just because you've had 73% you should win this game. For us, that was a beautiful win, because the fact that we actually only had 27% possession, but we kind of destroyed them, right, which was lovely as well. They had 15 shots to our 7, only 4 on target to 1. But and the irony is that we had, we scored 2 goals, but we actually only had one shot on target, which is absolutely brilliant. You know what I'm saying? But you look at that, passing, 700 passes for them and 263 passes for us. You could see very much how our game had gone. I mean, looking at the Liverpool game as well, 57% possession to 43%. They had 5 attempts on target to our 1. Okay, and again, 300. It's interesting, similar passes, 380 passes to 331 passes. So it's not as if they'd passed us off the park, Liverpool. It's almost like maybe they were trying to counteract us with our game, and the two teams were probably saying a similar type of football, and in the end they probably got slightly more effective because they had got the XG, they got the higher quality chances that they created at the other end. But again, just looking at that, you can kind of see how, what Darren was talking about, how it's played out, where it's almost like you're so pleased that you've managed to get one over Chelsea. You've managed to boom, boom, bash and just bosh them up. I'm saying, how long can that go on for? Obviously there is an evolution with teams down the line. There's going to be an evolution with Brentford down the line, as in we're going to have to expand it by bringing on players that could actually do things which will allow us to expand our play in other parts of the pitch. But like I said to you, it comes down to that kind of like, I don't say small fish, big fish in a small sea and small fish in a big sea type scenario. And then me coming back to the jeopardy, which I do miss. I do miss that Championship and that Division 1 jeopardy, where you're there and you're dominating and you're losing and the top team's losing to the bottom team, and it all means very much. But anyway, but you could see where that all kind of fits in, can't you, lady? Just looking at those figures.
Yeah, and I think all the time the game stayed at 1-0 as well. It means that if Brentford had gone down 2-0, fairly early. I think we have to really go for it at that stage. But, I don't think 1-0 down to it wasn't a brilliant goal. We weren't ripped apart, and, it was scrappy, and, it was a kind of, anyone could have scored that kind of goal. So all the time it's 1-0, we're in it. The game plan doesn't really change, because we know we back ourselves to get a chance, and we did really. It was only a slight offside that stops us from equalising. So and then the game plan stays the same again, because you back yourself to nick another chance later on in the game. I think that's the way this one worked out, and the possession stats showed that we were in it for a fair amount of time. Whether we hurt them with our possession, you can argue, and the stats show we didn't really, but we gave them a lot to think about, and we went toe to toe with a team that were in the Champions League final last year. And if you expect us to go toe to toe there, I just think that's naive, and it's the reason we've got a really healthy goal difference. We've tried to keep clean sheets. And if we do lose, as I said, apart from maybe 3 or 4 games this season, they've been by very, very narrow margins, where a chance either way and you pick up points. That's the reason we picked up points consistently. It's the reason we went unbeaten for the best part of 6 months. So you have to pat Thomas on the back and say, he's learned from last season, and who's to say he won't again, and things may change next year. So we're in a very fortunate position, Bill, where we've got a 3rd season at this. So and we've got a summer where it's clear, if we do want to get better, where signings need to be made.
Yeah, and just coming back to our weekend in Liverpool as well. Like I said, when I finally, Laney managed to pick me up from outside my house while they were setting up the Jubilee tables outside my front door. Then we shot ourselves up to Liverpool. We got up there, and like I said, had a few drinks before the game, and then like I said, we ended up in a bar just literally around the corner from the ground. If you go to the Anfield Stadium, around the corner, you've got the murals on the wall. So there's a couple of murals on the wall, and then just literally around the corner, like 5 minutes, they've got a couple of bars with like basically open, the big garden at the back. Open air bars. They've got bars inside, bars outside, music playing before the game, and so we got ourselves in there a couple of hours before the game for a bit of pre-match action, and it was good as well, wasn't it? Good little build up to the game, wasn't it, Lane?
Yeah, really enjoyed it. I'm not sure how that beer garden works when it's lashing down with rain. It would have been a little bit more miserable there, but yeah, the weather was good. There was some music, a lot of Scandinavian Liverpool fans there, loads. Literally pretty much probably 40% of the beer garden. But yeah, a good vibe. It was good to witness that. Very friendly, very respectful, very knowledgeable fans. A lot of people
we even got a couple of Brentford. They were singing their Liverpool songs to the guitar when the guitar man was playing. And we were even singing our Brentford songs along to them as well. And it's funny because you there's the manners thing, but you can kind of work out the manners as to whether or not you're allowed to or not. But in there, we were allowed to. I think we kind of sort of I don't think there were too many scowling faces.
No, I don't think they had any idea what you were singing about, to be honest. It wasn't like we were singing, 10 of us singing with Brentford, Super Brentford, and trying to take the pub over. That would have been a little bit different, but yeah.
But we were singing, it was down in the town of Northampton, which was an interesting twist, because they were playing it on the guitar, and I didn't realise it was an initial Rebel song. So they were singing it, and they all knew the words to it. And also we started, it was down in the town of Northampton, with all the Brentford supporters. And we were singing this down, and they were sort of looking at us thinking, oh, you know the words to us. Oh, what is this Northampton? What is this Brentford?
Yes, as I said, they had no idea what you were talking about, and it was only you singing it as well. So I don't think there was a chance of them being threatened by a pub takeover by a mob. No, but yeah, and the beer was cheap.
Scared, Laney?
Not scared. No. The beer was cheap. They done it really well. They knew what people wanted. Big bowls of chips for nothing, and good decent beer for compared to London prices, almost nothing. And you could see why people go there for part of the app, to get some atmosphere, because there wasn't much in the ground. Let's be honest. It's probably more atmosphere in that pub than there was inside Anfield. But that's a different matter.
Different story.
That's not our problem for a different day. That one.
No, that is definitely for a different day. And we mentioned it, if you check out the pre-match podcast as well, Pride of West London, when I spoke to John from the Anfield Wrap, and I wasn't being disrespectful. And I said to him, the atmosphere inside your ground, it's not what it's used to be. And I said, is that due to your internationalization? And the fact you've got lots of, tourists as well coming in, and we do sing, and we sang it quite a lot. You're just a club full of tourists, and the chance, we'll race you back to London and things like that, which was singing, which was true, because they do have so many people coming over, and it's out of their control, and that did affect the atmosphere. And even though they were winning, we were singing, you're winning 1-0 and you still don't sing and things like that. I know it's only Brentford they're playing, but listen, this is a football match, and surely, and that was probably the most disappointing part of the weekend. Again, it's actually in Liverpool, and going to that famous stadium, and I'm glad that it wasn't the atmosphere that we expected it to be. I mean, it wasn't like the atmosphere like when we went to Everton, and the atmosphere in Everton when we went there was on the next level. It really was in that game that we played them. I've never heard a crowd so loud for years and years, and Liverpool wasn't like that at all, and I suppose that probably played into our hands to a certain extent.
Yeah, no. As you say, if you kept a stadium quiet, that's a good thing. If you want to hear any of the big stadiums in their full pomp and as loud as they can be, that normally means that the home team have got the lead and everything's going their way. They say, you go to these big places, keep the crowd quiet. Let the crowd turn on the home team, and then you stand not more of a chance, but you use all the advantages to your own benefit. So I think it just showed that they were actually really concerned about our threat. Where our reputation is now is one of a really exciting football team. Now we could talk for an hour about it. Could it be more exciting? But would you really change anything from this season? I certainly wouldn't. And coming away from Anfield with just a very narrow 1-0 defeat, I felt we deserved something out of the game. I thought we deserved a point, and I stand by that.
That's right. And then just going into our night, I mean, the night ended, we ended up coming back very, very, very early, in the early hours of the morning, actually. Myself, it was used, quite a few of us out as well. Darren, obviously, the Bogota B, Cartel B, saying, probably going out to make sure that his patches in Liverpool were all kind of secured, he's got the boats coming in, delivering stuff, we also had Jermaine, who's one of our Barnet Panthers coaches as well. He's a Liverpool fan. We managed to get him a ticket in the top end, so he was actually just sitting there in silence in the other end, probably just watching this game with not singing at all, and a few of us as well Tom as well, he's a Liverpool fan. There's quite a few of us going out, and we ended up about 4 o'clock in the morning in the Soul Bar, doing the hot stepper, I think it was, lady, wasn't it, or the Shakademus and Pliers or something ridiculous, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was good music. It was good free, the kind of tunes you want to listen to at 3:30 in the morning when you're our age. I dance with the best of them to some of my sort of trancey electro stuff. But a bit of Mantronics going down at about 3:30 was just what the doctor ordered. And what was the other one? Broader Than Broadway. That was
that's right.
By Barrington Levy?
Barrington Levy, mate. Barrington Reedy. And then there's a jungle version later as well that came out on that one as well, which was, I think, was that Congo Natty that did one? I can't remember who that was. I should do. I did Jungle Mania 3, so all the Jungle Mania albums, and I put them all out there. So it would have been on one of my Jungle Mania albums that I actually put together. But it was, I think it was Congo Natty as well that did that, so Broader Than Broadway, which, we had a good laugh. So it was a good end to a weekend, and we turned into a kick football out of football weekend, especially as we went down to the Eurovision village as well. We went down to the Eurovision village to see all the nonsense that was going down there as well, and the happiness. There's so much happiness all over Liverpool with the Eurovision, and I have to admit, I do Eurovision I've got no interest for, but I do, going up there and sort of seeing it happening and being part of the town, I just thought it was actually quite funny, and it was actually it just created a lighter atmosphere, especially after you've lost against the Liverpool. It's like the defeat just sunk into the background, and the kick football at football came into play, and we started to really enjoy ourselves. But I don't talk about enjoying themselves. I'll tell you, somebody who always enjoys himself. Doesn't matter if it's win or lose. It's almost like he's always on the booze. JB has got some facts and he's got some funk. Let's listen to what JB has to say about some facts and some post-Liverpool funk.
Are you ready for this? I told you to coming. Who? JB. And he's ready to stock it to you one time. Get it.
Hello, Jonathan Birchall here again. As it stands, of the teams we've played away in both of our Premier League seasons, we've only failed to return pointless from just Old Trafford and Anfield. Last season they were both 3-0 defeats. This year they were both much closer, 1-0 defeats. Before Saturday, referees at Anfield hadn't booked any home players in 8 of their 17 Premier League games, with a season average of just over 1 home booking per game. In Saturday's game, 4 Liverpool players went into the referee's notebook. In all our away games this season, that's the most any home team has received. They also received 3 bookings at the G-Tech, so top the table as the side with the most yellow cards in games against us. Just one ahead of Manchester United and Fulham. Next up, West Ham. With a double over them last season and an away win already, they're the only team who we played in both Premier League seasons who have a 100% record against. Sunday will be Thomas Frank's 200th league game in charge. Of the 39 permanent managers and head coaches we've had in the 103 years since we joined the Football League, only 2 others are in that 200 club, Malcolm McDonald and Harry Curtis. Thomas needs another 4 seasons at the helm to exceed Malcolm McDonald's total. But to hear about him matching Harry Curtis's record, it'll be on a podcast in around 2035.
So there you go, JB, some post-Liverpool facts and fun. I'm surprised that JB wasn't actually in that soul bar at 3 o'clock in the morning, 3:30, dancing to some JBs, actually, because James Brown, I think there's all James Brown and all sorts of stuff that was going on down there. Maybe he was in the corner and he just didn't want us to know about it. I mean, there's all sorts going on down there. We won't even talk about it. That's for pub talk, as they say. But anyway, talking about JBs, I'm trying to do a link here. There's no link between JB and West Ham. WHJB, 2 letters together. West Ham, we got West Ham on Sunday. See, I didn't say Saturday. Listen, I am well and truly practiced in this now. We got West Ham coming down to New Griffin Park on Sunday, and West Ham, I know for a fact, because I've got a few West Ham mates, my co-coach DJ Dave from the Barnet Panthers, he's a West Ham fan, and he's not even coming down to the game because he's going, I ain't coming down to the game, mate, because you just do us over every time, which is a touchwood thing, because again, this is one of those things where it said, no, don't say that, Dave, like you're saying. And but West Ham fans, they think we're their bogey team, which is really weird, because we don't think of it like that. I know we've played them a few times and we've beaten them a few times, but that says nothing at all. But they don't like playing us at all, and they're coming down to New Griffin Park off the back of a very, very good victory in the semi-final of the Conference Europa League Cup thingy that they played Thursday night, and they're very excited. They're coming down to New Griffin Park, like I said to you. I'll tell you something, we could go on about West Ham as much as we want to, but we need an expert in the house, an expert who is obviously jumping about the result that they had in the semi-final, which means that they possibly are en route to their first final for absolute eons. He'll tell us all about it. We've got Andy Payne, who's going to tell us all we need to know about West Ham.
Good morning. It's Friday, the 12th of May. I'm Andy Payne. I'm a West Ham supporter for all my life. I'm also a committee member at Hammers United, which is the biggest independent West Ham fan group there is, over 19,000 members, and you can find more information about us at hammersunited.com. We are part of the Independent Supporters Committee at West Ham, which is soon to be the fan advisory board that all Premier League clubs will have to have. And our job's to represent fans, to represent their needs and their wants to the club. Never an easy thing with club owners, especially West Ham's club owners. But we fight for our fans, we fight for our members, and we want to see their best interests at all times. So we're currently having a battle about our season ticket prices being going up by overall pretty much 8%, and also equally as disingenuous is the fact that West Ham changed the concessions from 65-year-olds to 66-year-olds, which they did at a moment's notice. A little bit disappointing, to say the least. Anyway, enough about that. Season so far, I'm going to use the word disappointing, but I'm not surprised, and I think a lot of West Ham fans could be in the same mindset, possibly confused. Truth is, we have been running on empty, or were running on empty, for about 18 months, and we finished 6th and then 7th last season. But in truth, last season we were struggling because we had a very small squad compared with other teams in that top 6. And David Moyes, our manager, kind of one of his strengths, some would say potentially weaknesses, is he sticks with the same players through thick and thin. And they were worn out. Playing in Europe last year, whilst it's great for fans, and I think for the players too, it does put a toll on your league form, because you're playing, if you're successful, and we got to the semi-finals of the Europa League. If you're successful, you're playing Thursday nights, and then you're playing your league games on the Sunday, which are never particularly ideal. So overall, marks out of 10 for us this season. In league form, I'd say probably 5, and that's potentially being a bit generous. In terms of David Moyes, I think the jury definitely is out with him. He's been brilliant for us. Let's not beat around the bush. The guy's been brilliant for us, but he is limited, and tactics sometimes are called into question. I think we signed some good players last season. In the summer. No doubt we added to the squad's quality. But I think it's taken time to integrate those players. We'll see. If West Ham win the Europa Conference League, which we're now in the semi-finals, and we're 2-1 up after beating AZ Alkmaar last night at London Stadium. If we can get through the away leg, we go to the final. We'll play either Basel or Fiorentina, potentially both winnable or beatable. If Moyes was to win that with the team, I think it would be hard for the board to ask him to move on. But I think the jury's out, and West Ham fans that I speak to, some want him out, some are less aggressive about it. It kind of reminds me a little bit of a mini Arsene Wenger situation at Arsenal some years back. Not that David Moyes would ever get to the levels of Arsene Wenger, let's just make that clear. We've pretty much avoided relegation. It's not certain, and we're playing the mighty Bees on Sunday, which West Ham will lose. Let's just get that one out of the way. We'll be exhausted after last night. I don't think West Ham's players, their head will be in the game, and Brentford, are our bogey team. Brentford are, don't take this the wrong way, the new Luton for us. Luton always used to have a hoodoo over us. Brentford have definitely got that hoodoo. You're a good side, Brentford. Hats off to you. Magnificent and good. I think for football, not just Premier League football. Good for football that teams like Brentford and Brighton are doing so well. And I think you're probably thinking, well, maybe we've fallen away a little bit. The dream of Europe potentially I could still be there, but looking at Europe, it's a plus and a minus. I think definitely if you can get European football for clubs like West Ham and Brentford, Brighton, we yearn for that stuff. And going away and having the big European nights at home on a Thursday, it sort of is special for us. Absolutely no way would I want to be without it. Next season, the only way we're going to do that is by winning the Europa Conference League, and so let's hope we do that. But I think for Brentford's perspective, getting a European tour, you guys would absolutely love it, and more power to you. Talking about last night, AZ Alkmaar, if you're Brentford fans, you think, what's he talking about that for? Said Benrahma, absolutely sensational last night. He was the player last night that a lot of West Ham fans want him to be. All Brentford fans I know love him. Absolutely fantastic last night. He bossed the game. He was the player, man of the match standout without a shadow of a doubt. He took the penalty. As always with Saidi, he hit the ball. He scored. Some of his touches and his runs were just brilliant. He's forming a partnership with Paquetá, which is exquisite. I mean, those two guys are on the same level. So, we've been, some West Ham fans, including me, have been very frustrated because he just doesn't seem to be given the faith by David Moyes. he's always the player that's brought off early or relatively early, and we felt a little bit, we feel like he needs more faith in him. He's that kind of player. So overall, for us, he was a superstar last night, and that I think is a great thing. I mean, looking at the kind of the game on Sunday now, I've already said I think we'll lose. I think we'll lose probably. We might get a goal, who knows? But I think West Ham are going to be mentally and physically absolutely knackered. Hopefully, for us, Moyes will play some of the second, not string, but the players that haven't played so much. Lanzini, Fornals, Ben Johnson, and maybe even give one or two of the young lads who won the FA Youth Cup, beating Arsenal so brilliantly at. Remind me what Arsenal's stadium's called. I can't remember. It's an airline somewhere. But anyway, we went over there on a Tuesday night and we beat them 5-1 after going 1-0 down. I'd like to see some of the younger lads given a chance. We're not actually safe yet. And next game after, the last two games after playing you guys, Leeds at home, they'll be needing to win that. They'll beat us. And then guess what? Leicester away, and they'll be needing to win that. They'll beat us. So we've just got to hope other teams don't overtake us and we end up going down. But back to you now, back to the important stuff with Brentford. Obviously, Ivan Toney is a player that West Ham, David Moyes, tried to buy a couple of times a few years ago. I mean, we wish we'd got him. You're very pleased we didn't, or anyone else. That's a sensational player. But I think there's some other great players. I'm a big fan of Ben Mee. I wish we'd got him. He's just he seems like a brilliant human, but I think a real sort of backbone of Brentford. I don't know what the injury situation is at Brentford, but and Mbeumo looks like always a really tough player to me. Rico Henry as well, and I like Matthijs Jensen. Overall, Brentford have just got that. We played AZ Alkmaar last night, and kind of reminded me of Brentford in that there was a real organisation, very, very good on the press, quick to move into attack, and a really good understanding amongst their players of exactly what they needed to do. Man by man, they knew what they were supposed to do in pretty much every situation. And when I've watched Brentford, as a sort of neutral, obviously when we're playing you, West Ham fans are always cowering because you beat us. But that's a factor of the organisation at your club and your team. The manager knows what he's doing, and it just seems to be a real. Every player plays 8 out of 10 every match, and nobody seems to ever drop their levels. So fair play to you. I think you're just a great tonic, really for football, really. And as I say, I point to Brentford and to Brighton in terms of their ability to scout players, use data, use statistics, and bring a lot of joy to a lot of fans over there. Score prediction: I think it'll be 3-1 to Brentford, and I hope it's not, but that's my honest opinion. But whatever happens, unfortunately, I can't go to the game on Sunday because it's my 93-year-old mother-in-law's birthday, and she lives with us. She's moved in a week before the lockdown, and she's been a brilliant house guest, and we're having a little kind of big birthday lunch for her in the local pub. So I wish you well. My friend David Bowman, who's a Brentford season ticket holder, he invited me over. Sad not to go. Obviously, a lot of love for Billy the Bee, and we love Billy. So wish you the very best. May the best team win. But I bet you that's going to be Brentford. Anyway, more power to you. I hope you can get into Europe somehow and enjoy yourselves. Cheers now. Bye.
So there you go, Andy Payne, West Ham fan, very happy. Not so happy about Brentford, but he's cool. But he's cool. I mean, I'm with Andy out in Qatar. Andy and Kirsty, lovely couple in Qatar. We had a great night out. Probably one of the best nights we had out in Qatar, which we actually got very drunk. And we watched a couple of games. I think the Argentina game and Brazil game, some other game. I can't even remember the game. It didn't really matter. And it was our best night that we had out in the whole time that we were in Qatar. And I think we'll talk about that forevermore because we didn't have very many other great nights in Qatar. But that's another story. But Andy, anyway, he's given us the lowdown on West Ham, who are coming to New Griffin Park. And just to give the lowdown on West Ham scored is their strengths. They're good at creating long shot opportunities, also creating scoring chances. Good in the air. They're good at defending set pieces, and they're good at protecting the lead. Where they're not good is keeping hold of the ball, finishing scoring chances, defending against through ball attacks, and defending against skillful players. They attempt crosses often, take a lot of shots, they play with width, attack down the left, take long shots, long balls, and they are non-aggressive. West Ham coming down to New Griffin Park on Sunday off the back of a win. Ben Rama, who's our old player, and he talked about him as well. He is a player that we love. We wish that he'd stayed with us. He would have been great for us now if he didn't, but he's now full and truly a West Ham player. Moyes didn't like him at one stage, but obviously he has to like him because he's actually delivering for them now. However, they've got a very important match this week, and that may play into our hands, innit, Laney?
Yeah, I think the second leg in Holland against AZ Alkmaar will be all consuming for them. They're safe in, the commentators will be pedants and say they're not mathematically safe. No, they're not mathematically safe, but it's going to take every single team below them to win all their games and West Ham to lose them all for them to be they're 9 points clear of the drop zone. They're safe. And
saying that as well, I mean, Laney, from 5:38, and sorry to interrupt you, just to give people a bit of a picture here as well, you are totally correct, because West Ham, according to 5:38, which is what we use when we want to see how the table's going as well, West Ham, they predict to finish 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, sixth from bottom of the table. They predict them to finish on 42 points, okay, and they say they have less than 1% chance of relegation. Okay, the next team who are below them are Everton, who are 27% chance of relegation at the moment. Leicester are third from bottom with 64% chance of relegation,
and Leicester.
Leeds, and Leicester, there you go, you got it. Leeds at 72% chance of relegation, and Southampton greater than 99% chance of relegation. So West Ham, listen, no chance of them getting relegated. So back to you. You are right about them. Listen, being out of the picture.
No chance. So it's all about getting to the final, which is going to be held in Prague, I think, and there's only like a 20,000 capacity. So not many West Ham fans are going to get tickets. I think they only get 5,000 if they get through to the final. So it's going to be a bit of a bum fight. But it's been an incredible European season for them. It started in July and they're still going strong, and they brought a one goal they will go behind to AZ, and they come back and they won 2-1. So they're in a brilliant position to get through to a European final. And they'll rest players. I'm sure they will not want to risk their players getting injured on Sunday against Brentford, and and we saw this last year. When they came to the G-Tech last season, they were still involved in Europe, and they literally played a jog, and we beat them. We did the double over them. And I'm expecting the same. It would be naive is my word of the podcast this week. It would be naive of them to come and really sort of go 100 miles an hour at it, because they don't need to survive. Of course, they would still like to win the game, but it's all about getting through to that European Cup final. And I'm expecting Brentford to be able to sort of tuck in and make the most of the situation. And you say their fans think we're the bogey team. Well, we've just been better than them the last couple of years, and it probably, there was the game away last season. It was the last gasp winner by Wiesel. I'll always remember that was probably a little bit more of a smash and grab, but in the other games I think we've more than held our own, and what a great barometer that is to match yourself against West Ham, because they've got some great players. They've just been underachieving over the season. So I'm really looking forward to it on Sunday, to be honest with you, Bill.
Yeah, should be good. I mean, and talk about European tour. Obviously, West Ham are on a European tour. They were on a European tour last season, and that seems to have affected their league form. We asked the question, will Bees go on a European tour? Is it going to be good for them? It's going to be bad for them? Well, like I said to you, it looks like anyway, it doesn't really matter, because Bees' European tour this season is off the cards. Like, I'm saying, it's the USA tour, which we'll talk about a bit later, which we're actually going on in the summer. But the European tour is off the cards. And according to 538, because a lot of people also ask us, listen, you've got to talk about Brentford as well. According to 538, they've got Brentford finishing 9th this season on 53 points, a big gap between us and Aston Villa, who finished 8th with 58 points, and then Tottenham in 7th place with 61. So they're going to be in the European Champions League, whatever you call it, conference thingy jobby, what I'm saying, that we didn't quite get our heads into, I'm saying, which is, but the most important thing is that they predict that we are going to finish top of the West London Mini League, with Brentford finishing 9th, they reckon, Fulham finishing 10th on 52 points, and Chelsea finishing 13th, 9th and 11th on 47 points, and QPR, hold on a second, let me just scroll down. Sorry, wrong table, actually scrolling up. QPR down there somewhere, actually. My head's actually my next.
Do you want to borrow my binoculars, Bill?
Yes, I'm going to borrow your binoculars to find out exactly where QPR. We'll come back. Maybe we could talk about that next edition, because it's going to take me a while to find out exactly where QPR are in the West London Mini League. But anyway, listen, lady, coming back to Sunday, all relaxed for us. Sunday afternoon in the pub. As we know, we go to the Boozer. The Boozer opens nice and early for us on a Sunday, so we'll be down there nice and early having a few wee snifties, as they say. I'm going to ask you, Laney, can you give me, please, a score prediction?
That's very polite. I'll gladly give you a prediction. I will go for Brentford 3, West Ham United 1.
Oh, interesting. And you don't even need to ask me what my prediction is going to be, because it's going to be the same one every time, because I still haven't got the prediction that I actually got right the only time we actually didn't do a podcast, and every time I've actually predicted this and it hasn't come in. So I'm going to have to go Brentford 2, West Ham 0, only because it never comes in, and it's got to come in sometime. I'm using Matthew Benham's stats theory, like I'm saying, it's got to come in at some stage. Come on, please, come in that horse. But anyway, listen, this is the Beesotted Pride of West London podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on all good podcast channels and write us a review. If you actually tell you something, if you want to meet us up for a beer at some stage, away games as well, if you're up for it, just write us into it, and we'll try and get a beer crew together for people that go to away games, because like I said to you, more away games, and people have been a bit fractured at these new away games in the Championship and in the Championship, in the Premier League. You know what I'm saying? So if you fancy a beer with a Beesotted as well, and we can find new places, just write in somehow, and we'll try and assemble somewhere where people are going to go for have a little bit of a drink up. What else are we going to do? Now, don't forget to, like I said, buy us a beer as well. Beesotted.com/beer as well. And after that, like I said to you, we'll see you on Sunday. We're going down to some Sunday Rose. We have some bit of TV.
Come on, you bees.
Come on, you bees.
Burst some bubbles again.
Come on. We're forever blowing. Bees. Here, bees.
Here, bees.